I'm Umar from The Upcoming. Pleased to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So yeah, start off easy. How would you describe this film to people who haven't seen it?
It's really about the journalistic chase for the Harvey Weinstein story. So, it's about two intrepid journalists who work hard to kind of break the story, and it's an understanding of how they work with the survivors in order to persuade them to tell their stories.
Yeah, I think it's a testament to the power of investigative journalism and how important it is, and also the courage of survivors who've gone through really difficult experiences getting to reclaim their voice.
The Me Too movement, which obviously the events depicted in this movie, kickstarted a lot of cultural shifts, a lot of conversations from all across the world. What impact are you hoping this film will have on audiences, and how do you think how are you hoping it'll add to the conversation that is still ongoing today?
I think, now that the Me Too movement is 5 years old, people have talked a lot in the early days about how it's a cultural shift or a societal shift that will be gone very quickly with the next news cycle. It'll be a flash in the pan and so on. I think it's a testament to the legacy of how many women spoke out and how important this issue is, that still 5 years on, this film can have as much emotional impact as it does. And I think that now that the Me Too movement is 5 years old, we need to focus very much on legal and political change, because that's what will make long-term change, in workplaces, in homes, and in society as a whole.
In addition to, I absolutely agree with what Rowena just said, this story coming out really propelled the Me Too movement, which Shana Burke had started before that, and I think there is clearly still a lot of work to be done. For me, I really long to see the cultural shifts, whether it's just basic, like how do we treat boys and girls growing up, or what are we already sort of subconsciously feeding them messages about consent or about just basic boundaries, like just a basic understanding and compassion and clarity around boundaries. I feel like would be able to, I don't know, it's a very complex issue, obviously, but I think for me the longing is for there to be more cultural. There's so much like unconscious bias and unconscious conditioning that goes on that kind of can breed a sense of entitlement in certain people, then leads to these abusive dynamics. So my hope is that we can understand that better and do more to just treat each other as equal human beings.
I'd like to make a comment about Angela's role in the movie particularly. I think it's very important that we have Asian representation and an Asian story in the movie. I've read some of the early reviews for the film, and it talks about the centering of white narrative in the Me Too movement. So I think the more diverse the voices and the stories that we can get through the Me Too movement, then, the more the society hopefully will become aware that this is an issue not just that faces the top Hollywood actresses or just white narratives, but is broader than that. It's dimension across all strata of society, economically, as well as in terms of diversity. I felt confident the colour to be my story to be chosen and depicted in this film. I'm also a little bit fearful because it is a lot of exposure. It is a very private, traumatic story, and so I was worried about accuracy. I was worried about the impact on the general public, my friends and family seeing it. That's very difficult. So I think things are mixed with emotions to talk about.
When I first auditioned for this, I wasn't told what the project was, what the director or genre was. So when I got recalled and meeting with the director Maria, as soon as I found out what it was, I read the book cover to cover. I used to work as a journalist before I became an actor, so I was like, I absolutely want to be a part of a story that is celebrating the power of investigative journalism. And as someone who survived abuse, I also feel like abuse is so misunderstood. If anything to kind of shine a light on that and just have better conversations about the dynamics that feed into it was something I absolutely wanted to be part of.
We talked about the language that we used in the script. We talked about our shared cultural backgrounds. I felt that my experience as an immigrant Chinese child growing up in the UK really played into my story, and so I shared a bit of that with Angela when I met her.
I think there were a lot of parallels growing up in an immigrant family, like cultural differences and or aspirations to build a creative career against parental expectations. I ended up drawing on my own experience of abusive dynamics. It was really just spending as much time as I could absorbing things that I had already said in previous interviews and getting to know her as a person that I wanted to just find feeding. I think bring to the story within the context of the bigger story, of course.